one, fight!
What's up YouTube, Dow here from Zeph War Games, bringing you another live commentary on a live duel. So on the right you've got myself playing the Drytrons, and on the left you've got Charlie playing Virtual World. So I'll start off with Cyber Emergency. Now that allows you to pretty much add any of the little Drytrons from your deck, and then the little Drytrons have the effect that you either tribute a ritual monster or another Drytron monster to special summon them. Once you use the effects, now this is very important, you cannot special summon monsters that can be normal summoned or set. You can still normal summon said monsters, you just can't special summon them. Anyway, so I'll go over the Zeta. Zeta gets me the ritual spell, and Ben 10, as it was tributed, gets me a light fairy, which of course was Manju. Now we don't have Diviner yet, which is such a shame, but Manju will work just as well. So I normal summon a Manju. Manju searches me out the Draco Pain. Now this is where I made a big mistake in thinking that Draco Pain is enough. And sadly enough, Draco Pain is not enough, and I could have gone a little bit differently, which you'll see later on. I actually learned from my mistakes on this one. I still think Manju is really, really good. I have been looking into putting Invoked into the deck as well, because they do pretty much abuse a lot of lights. The only issue with that is your ideal end board is going to be two monsters that are going to produce interruption. So whether that be Macabre plus Herald of Ultimateness, or whether it be the Draconoid plus Master Pain or Unicorn or anything like that, that can really cause some issues. Now, obviously, there's a massive difference between Unicorn and Draco Pain, in the sense that Draco Pain makes your opponent skip their main phase, and it negates everything on the field except everything from the extra deck except link monsters, whereas Unicorn is a little bit weaker, doesn't skip your opponent's main phase all the way into their battle phase, but does negate link monsters. So it depends on what format you're playing. If you're worried about Nightmare Cerberus, then of course you go with Unicorn. If you're not, then you go with Pain, because Pain does quite a lot. Anyway, so what I've done is I've linked the two together to get them into the to get the Drytron in the graveyard for me to use Gamma, and that allows me to get IP Masquerena. Then by using the effect of Gamma in the hand, I contribute Ben 10, which is another one in my hand. That will then give me an effect of a Ben 10 to search me a light fairy, but by doing so it allows me to activate Gamma. Gamma brings back monsters, so I've got more material. I then use the effect of the Drytron spell to target or ritual summon the Master Pain to skip my opponent's main phase 1. I then overextend, like I go way beyond what I should really be doing. But then I use the Draco spell, which, it's not Draco spell, Drytron spell, which you target a Drytron monster, reduce it by 1,000 attack, add the card back to your hand, which I do that to then be able to ritual summon Natasha. Now Natasha, again, this is where Natasha is better with Unicorn, because Natasha can negate an attack on a ritual monster. So there was no need for me to overextend this point and bring Natasha onto the board, because he's not going to get a battle phase anyway. So this is all in Charlie's main phase too. Now, again, IP Masquerena was probably a silly one to make, and this is where I've adapted the deck quite a lot, in the sense that if you were to play the Invoked version, that Link 2 can be Cross Sheep, which means you'll get the effects of the Ritual to draw 2, ditch 2, and the Fusion to revive, which is kind of cool, and then kind of go from there. But Charlie's pretty much gone full combo, in a sense. So he activates the Virtual World, which then allows him to activate the trap card straight away. He activates can't see which one exactly what it is, but the level 6 non-tuner to send a spell, banish the spell, search a monster, and he's pretty much got combo going. He now activates the Quilong, and the Quilong will allow him to negate basically my IP Masquerena, which is exactly what he does. So he banishes the world to negate the IP Masquerena. At this point I was like, I foolishly, because I overextended, had no hand, and like the idea was to make the BLS Link monster, but I was like, I don't want to make the BLS Link monster, because then I lose the Immorph Actor Pain, which is pretty much negating any of his synchros or XYZs that come out of the extra deck. So I was like, do I go Unicorn? But I've got no discard, so that would be pointless. So really at this point I was like, he's not going to be able to like destroy it with battle, so he is going to need to go quite far to get rid of it. Now obviously he does have the trap, which is live, which is return 2 banished Virtual World cards and destroy a card on the field, which is really nice. Which is where the issue comes in, because that's his out to not only Unicorn, but also his out to the Immorph Actor Pain as well, so he no longer has the skill drain. He's activating Lulu's effect to send the spell to then add, I think it was Nyam Nyam or Lolo, Lao, one of the two. All of the Laos and Lolos and High Highs and no-nos when it gets to VFD. Yeah, so we're carrying on as it goes. And from this point on, it's pretty much not... This is where the difference of the Amorphactor Pain being the Drytron. Like, if I had went with the Drytron, then I would have actually had a disruption. Like, he would have been able to go battle phase or anything like that. He would have been able to go through his battle phase, but and all of this that he's doing now would be done during the main phase 1. But with the Drytron Draconoids, I could have popped both the spells in the back, and then that would have caused more of an issue. So yeah, at this point he's pretty much just setting up the trap, and he's got the Synchro on the board, which is basically a Macrocosmo. So anything sent to the grave is going to get banished. However, it's negated under the Amorphactor Pain right now anyway. When he wants that effect to be live, he can then get rid of the Amorphactor Pain, which is why I'm saying that as good as Pain is, looking back on this game was a massive learning curve. Looking back on it, my go-to with the Drytrons was always go to Amorphactor Pain and skip their main phase, and that would be enough. But then when I actually look at it, I look back, and not only did I overextend, but choosing to go for that over a disruption, because sometimes a disruption like the Draconoids is going to be so much better than actually skipping that whole main phase, because those two forms of disruption, or those two pops, plus the ability of going IP into Unicorn, would extend a little bit further. Like, I'd be able to do a lot more. So this is where he's going to start picking stuff off. So he now uses the trap, spin 2 back, get rid of the Amorphactor Pain. He's now got the ability of Vermilion Dragon Mech again to pop another card. So he's literally just going to start picking the board apart. So he gets rid of Natasha, which is fine. Natasha can come back next turn, but under the Macrocosmo, now that it is live, it gets banished. And it's kind of like, right, that's where the issues are coming into it. He now has the ability to go into the Crocosaur. And pretty much from this point on, there was no real coming back from this point. So Crocosaur, ditch 2, get rid of IP Masquerena, gets banished. Even Link Karibo was a foolish one to make, because, I mean, I suppose the only good, like, looking back at it now, the only good thing about that is that they went to the graveyard. But he's going to VFD me, which is kind of, well, it's not fine, but it is what it is. That's a really good top deck. That gets me the spell. But he's going to chain the Chi-Chi to kind of pop it. And then that point, I was just like, yeah, that's game. I've got like no comeback from that. So start again. This is where I've learnt my lessons. So you'll see the adaptation from here. So activate the Terraforming, get me the Field Spell Frapnir. That gets me Drytron Nova. I then activate Cyber Emergency, which gets me the Drytron Alpha, which gets me a Ritual Monster when it's summoned via its own effect. So I'm going to activate Nova. Nova is going to let me special summon a Drytron from the deck. Now, obviously, it doesn't get the Drytron effect, but the idea is you're just getting a monster on the board that you can then tribute off to get the effect of the other Drytron, and then you can bring it back from the graveyard. So this is exactly what I'm doing here, is I'm using the effect of Alpha to get me to tribute off the Zeta that I've just used with Nova, which then gets me a Ritual Monster. So you want to go for Benten, but I already have Benten in my hand. Well, I hope I do. If I've made this play, I've made another misplay, but I'm pretty sure I've got Benten in hand. So use the effect, use the effect of Zeta to tribute off the Benten to bring it back. Zeta then gets you the Ritual Spell with the Dryconis, and then Benten will get you the Manju. Now, at this point, again, this is where I've learned more things to add to the deck, more things to change to the deck, is from this point here, what you kind of want to do is you normally summon the Manju. Manju will get the effect to get you a Ritual Monster where you want to go for Benten, because then what you do here is you link off the Manju plus one of the Drytrons to go into Union Carrier. Union Carrier equips Eva and gives it an additional 1,000. You can then use the Ritual Spell to bring that. So because you've used, because you do all of that, you then use the Ritual Spell to bring out any of your Ritual Monsters, sending Eva to the graveyard. Ideally, you want to go for Herald of Ultimateness, because it's only 2,000, so you can do that straight away. And then that gives you 2 more disruptions in your hand, because then you've got the Herald of Ultimateness, you've also got the Benten, Herald of Orange Light, and then you'll probably search out another level 2 Fairy, which usually would be Diviner, but you don't need that right now. Well, you do need that, we just don't have it right now. And you'll have a Benten and Manju in the graveyard to banish. Then at that point, if you have the ability to resolve the Ritual Spell again, that's where you're probably going to go with the Draconoids. Anyway, getting ahead of myself, I've activated the Ritual Spell to bring out the Master Pain to skip the main phase 1. Now, the only reason I've done that is because I've got Preparations of Rites. So I activate Preparation of Rites to give me Saravas, which protects me from targeting of his trap card, and gives me back the ritual spell without having to use the ritual spell's effect. And this is where I make the difference play of A, not overextending, and B, going into the Draconoids, because the Draconoids gives me the ability for either 1 pop or 2 pops. Now, an issue I do make not a major misplay, but I didn't really foresee the play coming through, and what it actually caused me issues down the line is I get rid of the other the Drytron, the one that deals with spells and traps, to bring out the Draconoids, which is going to pop cards. Now, the issue with this one is I haven't made the Draconoid with 2 level 1 monsters, because if I do that, then I can attack all monsters my opponent controls. So this is in hindsight a bit of a misplay, and I managed to fix it, but I do have to go around in kind of loops to do so. But again, just a learning curve for everyone that wants to play Drytrons. Like I said, this build is a little bit outdated. It's just evolved a little bit more. So yeah, and then it was at this point that we were just going over the card, and I was like, oh yeah, I've made a bit of a misplay. And another thing you've also got to remember as well, the field spell is really important in a matchup like this. If you can hear the dog in the background, he clearly agrees. So Charlie's opened up pretty much good full combo. He's in his main phase 2 because of the Draco Pain, has skipped his main phase. I've also got the ability to protect any of my cards being destroyed while being targeted because of Saravis. Now, the only issue that I have here, or the massive thing that I forget, is the level reductor on the field spell, which usually doesn't really make much difference, but in this matchup it's actually incredibly important, and again I'll explain it as we go through it. But at this point here, I've used the Draconoid's effect to banish 2 or 1, because you can banish you pop cards equal to 2,000 or 4,000, so you have to banish monsters that attacks equal 2,000 or 4,000, so 2 of the little Draconoids or Drytrons and 1 of the big one. So I get rid of 1 of the big one to pop the 2 back row. That's fine, he gets to get the search, but he doesn't have the cards on the field that he can now target, so he has to use his normal summon to do something. So he normal summons out, I believe that's Lulu, or is that Nam Nam? That might be Nyam Nyam. No, that's Lulu. So I'm trying to see what's going on here. Where's the send coming from? I think that's Lulu. It must be Lulu. So I add the spell back, activate the spell, using the effect of that, I believe. So it must have been Nyam Nyam. Yeah, it must have been Nyam Nyam that he's normal summoned. And then effective Lulu target the spell. So I'm just trying to play cat. I'm not an expert on the virtual worlds here, so apologies if I do miss out any of the plays or don't see the type of plays that he's going for. This is only a friendly as well, by the way. So we're both learning. Charlie's a little bit more advanced in his deck than I am on the Drytrons, but I'm just playing as we learn. So he activates a level 6 non-tuner, targets Lulu, brings it down. So it was at this point that I should be triggering the field spell, because by triggering the field spell, you reduce one of your opponent's levels or a monster by every 1,000 attack it has. So I can end up reducing all of his not all of his monsters, but like 1 or 2 of his monsters by like 1, which then causes massive issues, because obviously the plays they make are either rank 3 plays or they are synchro 9 plays. So by reducing a tuner, so for example, if I did it on Lulu right here, or even if I did it on the other one that came out, he wouldn't be able to get that on board. He wouldn't be able to get the synchro on board. He would actually have to, he would have the ability of, because Nam Nam's not a tuner. So if you take out the tuner, he only has the ability to make level 5 synchros, or he would have had to then start overextending, or not overextending, but doing a little bit more, which is what he's doing now with the Lao Lao to bring back Nyam Nyam using her effect, Lao Lao bringing back Lulu. So again, at this point, if I reduced, I mean, probably not this point, it's probably not going to be as effective because he's got multiple tuners on the board, but it does really, really disrupt the plays, like massively. I've got no other forms of interruption. He does banish the trap to reduce, to increase Lao Lao to 9, which means he can make an easy VFD. He's then got a Nyam Nyam that's a tuner, a Nyam Nyam that's not a tuner, and a Lulu that's a tuner. So I think he passes that on the VFD. So he's now debating whether he wants to flip the trap or wants to flip the VFD. So he chainlinks 1 VFD, chainlink 2 is the trap. So the trap is targeting pain. So I did, because pain is negating VFD. So VFD, you can still detach, you can still activate the effects, but their effects are negated. So he VFD chainlink 1, trap chainlink 2, so the trap would pop pain and resolve backwards, but he forgot that I had the Seravis. So the Seravis I've dropped to protect the pain, so that pain doesn't get destroyed because it can't be targeted, or like you negate the activation or the effect. So I then play Jack in Hand. Now again, this has changed. I think I tried to be a little bit spicy with it. Sometimes it works really nicely, sometimes it doesn't. So I've kind of gone with I've gone back to the Where Art Thou. It's a real big thing. Like the Where Art Thou guarantees you what you're going to get, but it does need that level 1 monster on the board, and it also does need it does burn you for 2,000. Whereas the Jack in Hand, you don't need anything on the board, but you give your opponent one. Now, obviously, the only good thing or the bad thing with it is you still need another Drytron to get your combos going. But your opponent is either going to take the one that adds the ritual monster or take the one that adds the ritual spell. So you've got to hope that whatever one they take, you've got the other one in your hand to still use and abuse and play and do what you need to. So again, it's quite give and take. It's a bit risky, but it really depends on if you want to be spicy or if you want to be same but different. So this is the issue. This is looking back on hindsight, that I didn't make the Draconoid with 2 level 1 monsters. So with if I had initially, I wouldn't have to be doing this. My Draconoid can just go to attack, clear off the entire board. I'm pretty sure the majority of them have all been special summoned. And then the pain would go in for directly, and so would Manju. But instead, what I've done is I've brought back the Zeta to getting rid of the Draconoids, which gives me the Machine Angel Ritual. That then, of course, gives me the ability, because I've got a level 1 and a level 4 with Manju, I do have the ability for Natasha if I want it to. The other thing is I need to bring back the Drytron spell, which I probably should have done the last turn by reducing my Drytron Draconoid by 1,000. So yeah, like you can ritual them back from grave, which is fine. The recursion play of this day is really, really nice, and I like it. I like it a lot. But you do have to think quite far ahead. And again, throughout this entire period, I forget that the field spell even exists, which is a real issue. So that's lesson learned for future plays. I've got a decent enough hand advantage. I haven't overextended massively. I'm just trying to figure out how to get another Drytron back to the board without getting rid of the Master Pain, but that's the only option I have. So I have to tribute the Master Pain to get me back my Alpha, which then gives me Natasha. And then through this ability, I have the ability, through this play, I have the route of going Machine Angel Ritual if I want to, but I'm going to go with the Draconoid spell first to get rid of both of those. There's no real need for me to use the Draconoid effect to pop stuff, because I can clear it off on my attacks, and the trap I can deal with next turn. Now all I need is another level 1 monster, would have given me the ability to bring out Natasha. And again, this is not the issue, but this is the hindsight of playing Herald of Ultimateness and playing other cards like that. So I now use the Draconoids, and Draconoids, because he's been made with 2 level 1s, can attack all special summon monsters. So he's just going to be able to go and completely take out his entire board, and then Manju's just go poke for 14. And then main phase 2, Machine Angel Ritual, using the Draconoid in hand, and Manju. Now the best thing about this, and a lot of people don't even know this, the Machine Angel Ritual protects all light monsters if they would be destroyed by card effect. So it protects the Draconoid. So if Charlie was to try and destroy my Draconoid, I can banish the Machine Angel Ritual instead and protect it. If he wants to attack, well, I've got Natasha, and Natasha can negate the attack as well. So keep that in mind. Machine Angel Ritual is a very, very nice techie card because it protects all your lights. So it also protects the little Drytrons, it protects your Manjus, pretty much gives you everything. I'm just going to check it right now in front of me. So give me 2 seconds while Charlie's playing. Yeah. So it's not even ritual monsters, it's just light monsters. So basically all my lights can be protected by card effect, which is where the trap comes in now. I probably could have used the Draconoid's effect a little earlier, but I wasn't versed in the way that the virtual world's played. So I had to be very, very careful with what it goes through. Now, keep in mind as well, the Draconoids can't be targeted by monster effects. So as soon as he targets me with that effect, I'm in trouble. And this is why, again, in hindsight, I now know that he plays Gossip Shadow. This is the point of going, right, okay, I need to stop that. So he overlays Lulu and Yam Yam and goes into Gossip Shadow, which basically means the next monster effect I activate or a monster effect I activate can become both players draw one card. So prior to that, that's where I probably should have gone Drytron, pop Lulu or Yam Yam just so it gets banished and pop the trap. And then that wipes that out completely. But hindsight is 2020, ladies and gentlemen, or 2021. So yeah. From this point, he's not got like full combo, but he's still got the ability to regain his board. Like, you got to keep in mind, he's still got so Lao brings himself back, which means he can make rank 6s. He can just pretty much continue to rebuild a board. Now, I've got rid of a VFD, so that kind of slows down a stun phase, but he also has the Synchro in the graveyard that he can revive, and that's a pain in the backside because it's every card from field goes to graveyard is banished instead, so it can be very, very damaging once it goes off. And keep in mind now the balance has changed. VFD's like Virtual World's pretty much unscathed, so they can still do what they need to do and pretty much go full ham. So we've got Vermilion Mare. He's just building out cards to just start picking the board apart and start, clearing cards off. Which, I mean, again, is absolutely fine. Well, it's not absolutely fine, but it is what it is. So I use the effect of Machine Angel Ritual to protect from the Vermilion Dragon mech. I know eventually these cards are going to go, like, I don't know if the Natasha is worth it, but Natasha does protect. It means that the opponent has to use a pop or has to use something to get rid of Natasha. And I think the Gossip Shadow is pretty much what, not wins it here, but it is pretty much what gives him so much more to do. So he ranks up into the Fortress Bafnir. Bafnir doesn't target, he gets to banish a card. So this is where I'm in a bit of trouble because my Draconoids, which is my boss monster, is going to go. I use the Draconoids effect. Now, obviously, I know it's going to be Gossip Shadow is going to stop it, so I only banish one. So we both draw a card, and then he's going to banish that with Enter Blafnir. So this is where we're just going over the target effect and the how it resolves, and obviously we've kind of just worked it back, saying that so the Chulu, or the trap card effect, basically was used earlier on, and we were just trying to confirm the game state and the effects of where everything was. So the only difference is that he would have been forced to use the trap card to get rid of the Draconoid, and so he's put 2 traps back in, and we've pretty much fixed it, or pretty much just reduces his banish zone. So we've fixed the game state on that one, which is nice and easily done. Yeah, so now it looks like I'm in a bad position. So he's not got a massive amount for me to deal with, but Enter Blafnir is strong enough as it is. He brings back the Macrocosmo, which is like, God damn it won't go away. And this is one big issue with the deck as well, is when you're only playing the one Draconoids, and you don't need to play 2, ideally. Like, they're very big monsters. If it does get banished, something like this, then you are in trouble because you've got no way of bringing it back. So he declares an attack. I negate it with Natasha. He's got no way of getting past Natasha right now because it can just go negate, and protect itself. So draw for turn. Confirming that everything's banished, and then he's going to he shotguns the trap early, spins 2 back, gets rid of Natasha gets banished, which is a shame because, again, could have been like the mind control effect, which I really love of that card. Now this is the issue, it is protecting my graveyard. Now the big thing is it's everything that goes from the field to the grave. So again, Jack in the Hand comes in, not clutch. Well, I suppose in this scenario it does come in clutch, because if this was where art thou? I wouldn't be getting this monster. So he takes my Gamma because my Gamma can give me materials, and I go for the Alpha because the Alpha's going to give me a ritual monster. Now, it's only if it goes from the field, so keep that in mind. So I bring the Gamma back, so Gamma tributes, and I go to use the Drytron effect, and again, I know it only happens when it's summoned via its own effect. So we correct this again, which is fine. I think this is where a bit of a misplay comes into play because use Zeta. I've already got one of the Alphas in the graveyard, so Zeta pops the one that I've just brought back off of Gamma. Sorry, we pop it itself, so I need to banish one of those. So one of those Drytrons is banished. The Alpha is banished, but that lets me get the ritual monster, which gives me Ben 10, which then means I contribute the Ben 10 in the hand to bring back the Zeta. Now it doesn't get banished because it went from hand, not field, which then Zeta lets me get a ritual spell. But the idea is I only wanted to tribute the Ben 10 to get the monster. I've gone through all my ritual spells, so I'm now using the Draconis spell in the graveyard to target the Zeta to bring it back to my hand. I can use the Manju to normal summon just to get another monster on the board as well, but as you saw, I'm pretty much I've got no deck left. I'm pretty much running on near empty. All I've got is the ritual monsters, and the worst thing is my only boss monster is my Draco Pain. So there we go. There's me correcting the banish of the Alpha. And now we're just pretty much... Again, this takes a lot of thinking to do because it was just a play that I wasn't expecting to make. Which you'll see in a minute, and it actually wins me the game. So I'm still trying to figure out ways... Because I can't get rid of both the boss monsters. Like, I think there's only 1,600 life points left on the board. So I just need to get a direct of 1,600. All my boss monsters are gone apart from the Morph Pain. He's got a banish next turn off of Blafnir. Anything that I send from field to grave is getting banished under the Synchro. So I need to get... So I'm looking for ways of getting rid of both boss monsters. Now, like, the first part was like, I go Cerberus, I've got cards I want to discard in my hand, but then Cerberus only gets rid of one of them. I bring back the Pain gets rid of another one. Now, I can bring back Pain straight away to stop the banishing effect, but even then, the two Drytrons that I bring back, or the two Drytrons that I get rid of, are going to get banished. So there's a lot that needs to be worked here. So normal summon the Manju gets me a final Benton. I'm literally just digging for resources now that just to confirm what I have left. So I activate the Draconoids. This is where I lose everything. So I get rid of those two and bring back Pain. Now Pain straight away turns off the board, which means there's no longer a Macrocosmo, which I'm absolutely happy about. But then the issue of here is, like, Pain can kill one of them. I can make Cerberus to kill the Gossip Shadow in defense because that's the annoyance. But then I've not got enough to kill the Fortress Blafnir to go in for game. Which is why I looked for my extra deck a couple of times. I'm just like, what is it? There's something there that can do it. And this is another issue of playing with mats without zones on. Very, very important. So... Oh, like, no one's at fault here. Like, we should have had a field center, and we should have all known what was what, really. But like with field zones, straight away, again, it helps you out, especially when you're playing cards that are like must be in this zone, or if a card is in this zone, or anything like that. And again, as you saw, completely irrelevant of what the field spell's doing for me as well. But to be fair, you don't really want to be reducing your monsters. The only time you want to do that is when you want to get your Draconoids to have the full effects, but then you should just only be using the two Drytrons anyway. So looking for the extra deck, of course, I identify Cerberus. I know that's a play that I can make, but there's no other Link 2 that I can make that's going to win the game from this point on, because the Synchro is just going to come back the next turn. But then, this is where I see this. Boom! Relinquish Anima for game, guys. Because Anima gets rid of one of his monsters. That gets rid of the boss monster because it was in that column. That will then allow me to use the Relinquish Anima plus the Manju to go into Cerberus. Cerberus will then let me ditch to get rid of the Gossip Shadow, which is in defense. And then the Amorph Pain will kill the Enter Fortress Blafnir for that 50 attack. And then Cerberus will swing in for game of 16 because that's all that was left. But yeah, you can kind of see, like, it's one of those ones where you know the answer's there. if luckily this was a friendly, because if it wasn't a friendly, I might have been under a bit more time pressure and I might have missed it. But this is one of the ones that you just need to look at all your options, look at what you can do, and then try and play it out, because it's such a bizarre scenario. It's not a scenario that you can prepare for or like kind of work in. It's one of them scenarios of like, right, okay, this is where you're in, adapt. How can you get to it? So yeah, Cerberus for game. And yeah, we pretty much scooped that one up on that. So we're going into game 3 now. This one's going to be a rapido, basically, very, very quick. So the store, it's now time for the store to close. It was coming to like 10 o'clock. He had pretty much full combo, and I was like, yeah, you've got game, because... So he does full combo. I just show him my hand. I'm like, right, this is going to end up on like a VFD. This is probably going to end up on a Macrocosmo. And it's just like, all right, fine. And I was like, this is all I've got. It's like, I can probably bait a little bit with the 2 Drytrons to like trying to wall up a bit. But after that, I have nothing else. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to break that or do anything else. So yeah, that was interesting. I learned a massive lot on this, like this duel itself, and learned a lot about the Drytron deck, and I'm still working on it now, trying out different techs, trying out different routes. I really think the deck's got a lot of potential, and it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, Virtual World are one of the, if not the top deck right now, especially post ban list, for a particular reason. So it was nice to kind of give it a run out and kind of give it a decent fight. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much to every single one of you for watching, sticking to the end. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so do not miss out on any more Yu-Gi-Oh content coming out from Zephyr War Games all the way up to Christmas and into the brand new year of 2021. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe and happy dueling.